If you've seen my review of the iQnix MQ80 keyboard, you know I appreciate a well-built and thoughtfully designed piece of tech. But today we're shifting gears from the desk to the wrist and taking a look at a watch that has garnered a lot of attention for its ruggedness and aesthetics, the Casio G-Shock GA-B2100 1A1, or as I like to think of it, the solar-powered all-black Casio. As some of my viewers have noted, I like mechanical watches, but I also just like watches in general. So while I've appreciated the GA-2100 lineup since its introduction for its combination of G-Shock ruggedness with a mostly analog dial, it wasn't until I discovered they had a solar and Bluetooth version that I finally cracked and bought my own. For reference, my wrist circumference is 174 millimeters, so you can get an idea of the watch size and how it wears. Though there are many variations of the analog GA-2100 in the G-Shock lineup, everything ranging from basic quartz to all-metal casings, I want to focus this video on the core GA-B2100 lineup because that's what I own. This retains the rugged resin-carbon hybrid cases we've come to expect from G-Shock, but with the addition of Bluetooth connectivity and solar charging, which has bumped the base price up from about $100 USD for a basic 2100 to about $150. However, they're sold all over the place and you can regularly find them for a bit less. Check the links I'll leave in the video description. In addition to this black on black version that I opted for, Casio has brought back some of their classic colors, offering a more colorful black version, along with dark blue and green, or a slightly more expensive yellow version. That said, since its introduction, Casio has expanded the Bluetooth and solar lineup for the 2100 with other branches, so you may want to take some time to look around and see what other colors you can dig up. Dimensionally, this watch measures quite large, with a 45.4mm width across the face, 48.5mm distance from top to bottom, and an 11.9mm case thickness, which sounds quite big, and honestly held me back from buying the watch for quite some time. But it wears a lot smaller on the wrist, more like a standard 42mm watch. I suspect this is because the prominent octagonal border only measures about 41.5mm from flat to flat. For comparison, here's the G-Shock side by side with my 41mm Marathon G-SAR dive watch and my 42mm Omega Speedmaster. All three wear quite comfortably on my wrist, so my reservations were certainly unwarranted. Another thing that surprised me about the GA-B2100 is just how light it is, with the bandless watch weighing in at just 36 grams, compared to 92 and 65 grams for my Marathon and Omega respectively. This makes it just kind of fade into my wrist throughout the day, whether I'm working around the house or just relaxing. The module for this watch is the 5689 Tough Solar module, which has a Japanese quartz mechanism powered by a solar cell located behind the front dial. The dial is shielded by a flat mineral glass crystal, which is hardened to be less scratch resistant than standard glass, but less so than a more expensive sapphire crystal. Though it is more shatter resistant, so it's a fair compromise. That said, mine has developed a very small chip just a little above the 6 o'clock position from regular wear and tear that you might be able to see. Releasing the 4 side screws, we see that there's a firm but shock absorbent resin shell acting like a skin over the rigid carbon resin composite case, forming what Casio calls its carbon core guard. And of course, there's a stainless steel backing plate. Altogether, this gives the GA-B2100 a 20 bar or 200 meter water resistance rating, so it's suitable for splashes, showering, swimming, pool diving, and even activities like jet skiing or snorkeling. However, it's important to know that this is water resistance, not waterproof, so it's not recommended for proper scuba diving. Flipping the watch over, there are analog hour and minute hands with some lume applied. We also see that the 5689 module features both analog and digital complications, with a 2-tiered blacked out digital display in the bottom right corner, as well as a crescent mode indicator at the 9 o'clock position. The watch face itself is quite recessed behind the glass, with lots of room for the case to curl up three-dimensionally around the edges and for the hour indices to protrude out from the central watch face, which radiates light outward with a bit of a metallic glare that's quite nice. All the text inside the watch face, including the G-Shock, Tough Solar, and Bluetooth branding, are printed in a light gray that provides an understated look, but can be a bit difficult to read depending on the lighting. This is most prominent on the mode indicator, which has a metallic backing that can cause the lettering to completely disappear at times. But to be fair, that's kind of the point of this black on black color theme, hence the uncolored, recessed lettering for the branding and button labels on the outside of the case. I already mentioned the phosphorescent lume that causes the analog hands to glow in the dark after being exposed to light, but you also get a dual LED light on the GA-B2100. This briefly illuminates the small digital display from the backside, but also shines an LED torch from just next to the 5 o'clock position to light the rest of the watch face. It's not the best lighting that I've seen on a quartz watch. I would have preferred a total backlight, but I suspect this wasn't possible because of the solar cell beneath the watch face. Another thing I'll draw your attention to, which I thought was kind of neat, is that the 5689 mechanism, which has an accuracy of plus minus 15 seconds per month, even without Bluetooth syncing, repositions the minute hand every 20 seconds. Very minor, but kind of cool to see. Its rechargeable battery can also last up to 7 months on a full charge with normal use without any kind of light exposure. And its power save function that disables the watch when stored in the dark, for example in a nightstand, extends that up to 18 months. Also, the GA-B2100 comes with a color-matched resin band, which integrates quite seamlessly with the watch case, unless you have it on quite tight on a small wrist, in which case the seam reveals itself. This has a squiggly expansion-style shape on either side of the housing connection that is mostly for show, since the resin isn't elastic enough to actually allow this to expand. That said, the underside of the watch band has these recurring ridges which help to lock the strap loop in position securely when it's on your wrist, which I quite like. All things considered, it's a pretty basic band with a cheaper feeling clasp, but I still like it. And you can also buy third-party lug adapters that expand the default 16mm lug connection up to something more standard, like 20 or 22mm, so that you can use other watch straps. Just keep in mind that this increases the lug-to-lug distance substantially, so bands that fit you well normally will need to be tightened quite a bit more to compensate for this. Again, I'll leave links to this in the video description. As I mentioned earlier, there are also 4 steel buttons around the outside of the watch that slightly protrude from the resin case. These correspond to mode, adjust, light, and start functions, which together allow you to interact with the various technical features of the GA-B2100. Unlike the standard GA-2100 models, which use the arc indicator at the 9 o'clock position to communicate the day of the week, the GA-B2100 uses this to communicate various modes as well as the battery life of the watch as either high, medium, or low. In the default time-telling mode, the arm will simply indicate the battery level near the base of the arc. By clicking the mode button on the bottom left of the watch, we can jump between world time, stopwatch, timer, and alarm settings. Or we can hold the mode button for 3 seconds to activate Bluetooth mode so that the watch is discoverable by the Casio Watches app. It's important to note here that for the sake of battery life, Bluetooth doesn't remain active all the time. You have to jump into Bluetooth mode in order to connect to the watch via the app. Once in any of the standard modes, you then use the adjust, start, and light buttons to set up things like the duration of timers, or for example to start the stopwatch with the start button, then log a lap and get a split time using the adjust button. I'm not going to go into the exact controls for each mode because that would take forever, and Casio has a really good searchable online manual for this watch, which I'll link in the video description, that explains exactly how to use every setting. That said, it's worth noting that the world time mode lets you jump between 38 time zones directly on the watch, or between 300 cities from the app, while the stopwatch displays down to 1/100th of a second for the first hour, then down to the second for up to 24 hours. Likewise, the countdown timer can be set in 1-second increments up to 60 minutes, and you have the ability to schedule up to 5 daily alarms, as well as toggle on and off the hourly time signal, which plays 2 quick chimes every hour. Personally, I have this turned off because while it's handy throughout the day, it continues to run all night long, which can be disturbing. It's also worth noting that these modes make use of the digital display on the watch face. So if the screen would be obscured by the hour and minute hands, you can press the light button with the mode button to move them out of the way briefly, which is kinda cool. Also, when in the standard time-telling mode, the digital display will always indicate the seconds on the top of the screen, but you can rotate the bottom of the screen between showing the numeric date, the day of the week, the digital hour and minute, or any reminders that you have set. Personally, I keep it on the date most of the time. Oh, and from the time-telling mode, you can always press the start button once to quickly jump into Bluetooth mode and sync your watch time with your phone, provided they've already been paired. This is great if you find yourself switching time zones regularly. Really though, over the past 4 months of me using the GA-B2100, while I have triggered these features on the watch from time to time, I usually configure the settings using the Casio Watches app. Primarily, I find the benefit of the app is to simplify configuring the various modes and settings of the watch. Rather than fiddling with buttons, you set things up on your phone. It's pretty handy, but on its own, I'm not sure that justifies paying more for the Bluetooth version of the GA-2100. However, there are a few extra features that the Bluetooth connection enables, which I think are worth the price hike. First, from the app you have the ability to set up to 5 calendar reminders that recur once, weekly, monthly, yearly, or for some training period, which I use to track my anniversary as well as my nephew's and mom's birthday, because it's never good to miss any of those. Shout out to my mom, whose birthday it is while I'm recording this. Also, Bluetooth allows you to find your phone using the Phone Finder feature that will override your phone's mute setting and play a tune to help you find where your phone was left, provided that it's within Bluetooth range. All you have to do is hold down the start button for about 3 seconds, then the watch takes a few seconds to connect to your phone before it starts playing a tune. For me, this works anywhere in my house, even through walls and floors. One important warning though is don't do this with your headphones or earbuds connected to your phone, because it will play very loud through the headphones. Honestly, I bought the GA-B2100 for its solar power feature, not its Bluetooth, but the two only came together. And though I don't find myself configuring things on the app all that often, I do appreciate the ease that the app configuration provides, and I have to say I've used the Phone Finder far more than I ever thought I would. All things considered, after years of almost buying a G-Shock, I'm really happy that I finally purchased this GA-B2100. It's certainly not inexpensive, but it's also not so expensive that I worry about damaging it. So it's perfect for when I'm being a bit more active, traveling, or just doing work around the house. I also really like this understated all-black look and the reliability that comes with solar charging. I simply never have to worry about battery life or winding anything up. But what do you think? Is this the G-Shock that you've been looking for? Or is there something else that's caught your attention? Let me know using the comments below, and as always, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.